Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I am honored to have a very successful and powerful guest on today, who's one of those people in life who walks her talk and has truly made it in this world. What's inspiring about her is that no matter how far she's come so far, she has no intentions of slowing down. And if anything, she's speeding up. Pam Sowder is the co-founder of It Works. It Works is a multi-million-dollar network marketing company that's been changing lives since 2001 and is over in is let me say that again. Pam Sowder is the co-founder of It Works, a multi-million-dollar network marketing company that's been changing lives since 2001 and is in over 20 countries around the world. Pam has been voted one of the most influential women in direct selling and has earned the nickname the Queen. She has over 2 decades of experience in direct sales and was an original brand ambassador and influencer before an influencer was a thing. Pam has empowered tens of thousands of people to turn their dreams into reality at trainings and conferences around the world. Pam, thanks for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, Howard. Thank you so much for having me on. We're going to have fun today.
Oh, yes, we are. We're going to turn the tables because you've interviewed me a couple times on your podcast. And so now I get to have some fun and turn the tables and interview you and ask so many of the questions that, a lot I think you've answered over the years in so many talks and so many trainings that you've done for so many people who are starting their own businesses. But I want to get more into the mind of Pam Sowder and how that all started and what really drove you. So I guess that leads me to my first question, which is, when did you realize how important mindset was to success?
When I look back, I think it was really when I was really young, like as young as 5.
Wow.
Just watching my parents struggle and the confusion sometimes that they had over not just raising children, but money and um, relationships. And so I saw very early on that you could go down one of 2 paths: anger. My dad would get very angry. Um, my mom was always smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would take it in a different direction than her, but he would always come back around because she would just be sitting there, just smiling. And so
Mm.
I realized, I think that's why I'm smiling all the time. She taught me, just think, this too shall pass. And so very early on, I realized that's probably the only thing that I had a choice over, was how I was going to react.
Wow. So to learn that at such a young age, was that sort of a protection method, or did you see that it actually had an impact on what you experienced? That's
I
an
think
early age.
both, because I was kind of mischievous. And, I always wanted to push the limits. And I see that in my children as well. But I think that's probably normal. Most of us get too frightened, though, and we pull back. And every time that I pulled back, I felt like I lost who I was. And that was such a bad feeling.
Interesting. So you knew right away at an early age that pushing the limits was a definition of who you are, and that
Yes.
that was something that you thrived on doing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, how fast can I go on this daggone bicycle? You know, and then I'd end up in trouble.
Mm,
Or I went pretty fast and I had a great ride. Or how far can I push this teacher?
mm.
How many questions could I possibly ask her? And I'm still very curious by nature.
That's very interesting because it's a similar trait that I've had growing up. I was the kid that was always asking questions. I was the one who was challenging the teacher and pushing the boundaries. And one of the things in my mindset coaching is I believe that people can be coached into doing that, into pushing the limits for themselves. What do you feel about that with people that maybe didn't grow up like that and don't have those traits? Have you experienced people that you've met that were shy and didn't have that kind of an outward personality and were able to flip it?
Oh, sure. Because Howard, with all I just said, I was extremely shy. And I really uh, believe that at any moment we can make a switch, because I'll never forget my first day on campus when I went to Radford. I looked around and it came to the realization that no one really knew me there, no one at all. So I could start over. And I decided that that moment that I would no longer be shy, that I would walk into any room, any situation, and look around and smile and make friends. So I do believe that. I remember people trying to label my daughter as shy. And so I took a different direction with her. I said, no, she just doesn't know you, because
So
I didn't want her to be labeled. And I remember my dad labeling me shy. And I turned beet red because he said that, which caused me to turn red, which caused me to believe that. So
interesting.
even though I was shy, I still felt that inner strength, that inner power that was always available to me. At times, though, I would lose it.
Interesting. But you decided at an early age that you were no longer going to be that shy person in the corner. You're going to be able to step out. And obviously, in what you do in the business world, being the quote, the queen of marketing and helping people to be able to step out of that shy box and in a sense, not care what people think about you as long as you're being a good human being. Obviously, that helped you to do that. Did you always dream as big as it's become, or was it something that evolved over time as you started to go down your path? I mean, how did this business that you grew into a multi-million-dollar business, how did that start? What was the origination of that? And a second part to that question is, what were you doing before this all started that got you
Okay.
going on this?
All right. So, I always wanted to be big, bigger, big, better, and grow and evolve. And I look back just, uh, marrying Dave, and who we will be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary this year. And
Congratulations. That's
oh,
awesome.
thank you. And Dave was such a big rock star in school. I mean, he played football, he got a scholarship, he was extremely popular. And I was the shy girl over in the corner. But I immediately just wanted to go out with this guy. And so I got very bold and let him know that I was interested. And after our first date, it was just, that was it. We knew we were meant to be together. So I always, even though there's a part of us that shy away and feel less powerful, there's something in us, that spark, that just pushes us and propels us a little bit. And if we make a move on it, if we just gather that, let that fear be there, because it's not going to go away, and
Right.
let it kind of move away for a minute, and we take a step. And that's what I've done. I just feel like I've taken that step. I took it with him, and then we get married. We have two children. I have a great job selling IBM computers in the 80s. It was just a new frontier. We had our son Adam, and then that's when everything changed. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to work anymore. What happened? What happened to this bold career woman? She became a mom and fell in love with this child and didn't want somebody else to raise them. Unfortunately, things precluded me from doing that. I had to work until our daughter Kay was born. And then for 7 years, I'm a mom and a housewife, and started to feel less than, started to be bored, missed the marketplace. What happened to my mojo? My brain felt like it was turning to mush. I just
Mm.
couldn't talk about PTA anymore, Howard.
Right.
I just
No,
couldn't. I couldn't be the room mom anymore.
mhm.
So I started looking for a job, and through all of that, I wanted to still be that mom. I'm like, how can I still have everything? And this industry of direct sales came to me at the most perfect time, or I might not have looked at it, but it did. It showed up through a friend. I listened to the opportunity and I lit up like had not lit up for years. I mean, to me, it's like something within me just burst. And I'm like, I can conquer this. I want this.
Okay, so let's go back for just a second. So you said something really important, like when you saw Dave across the room, even though you were uh, known as the quiet girl,
Yeah.
you still had something in you that said you wanted to meet him, you wanted to talk to him, and I would call that your intuition. That's what's necessary, what's can be your small voice versus your big voice, which is your head, which tells you all the reasons not to do something. And the small voice is the intuition until it becomes your big voice and you learn to trust it more. But it was that intuitive voice that allowed you to go talk to Dave and start your whole family and have a marriage that's lasted for almost 40 years. Congratulations again on that. That's amazing. And you got to a point where after your second child that you still wanted you had this zeal and this zest to go out into the world and to do something, to use your mind and to build something. That same person that was the little girl that asked questions, that always wanted bigger and better, was feeling that when you were married and had kids. And that's what drew in this opportunity. And when the opportunity hit you, it was like all the lines came together. You can work at home, you could build a business, the products you liked. Is that fair to say that that's how that all evolved?
It is. It's like, it was like everything came together at the right time. Or had it been a year earlier, I might not have looked at it. Had it, even 6 months earlier, but we were at a point in our life where we needed extra income. And I was trying to figure out how to bring that in without drastically changing our life, our day to day life, which is get up with the kids in the morning, put them on the bus, be there in the afternoon.
Now, was this the company that eventually turned into It Works?
No, I was with the company for 6.5 years before discovering the wrap, which I discovered the signature product to It Works through a friendship with that first company.
I see. So one thing led to another.
Yes.
And you liked, so take the story from there. So you were working 6.5 years for this company, and then you got introduced to somebody else that had another product that was unique enough and special enough that you liked, that you decided to leave that company and
Well, what happened is that company changed over this. I mean, I was in love with that company. I never thought I would ever leave that company and would still be with them today had they evolved and grown. However, the owner sold it. The company dynamics changed. It looked like the company that purchased it wanted to go mainstream, leave the distributorships out. The writing was on the wall. It was time to make a move. So in November of 2000, I left that company. It was hard too because I had relationships there, but I could see that it was no longer a viable opportunity. It felt like a lie to me to tell somebody you could join and have the same opportunity as me. I knew that wasn't truth. So I left and with it and told Dave, I'm not doing anything. Holidays are coming. I'll figure it out in January. When you have a good reputation, Howard, and you have a good work ethic, people start to call you. They hey, she's left this company, let's see if we can recruit her into ours. Well, a gentleman that I did great trainings with, we used to help each other, he lived about an hour away from me. He had left that company even prior to me leaving, and through a relationship of his, he discovered this wrap that a company in Mexico wanted to bring into the United States. He had no interest in it because he was getting ready to go away on a project to Israel for 18 months. So he called me. He said, Pam, would you want to take a look at this? Now, Howard, once again, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. It's like, I don't believe a word you're saying about this product, but something's telling me to pay attention.
and that's what I want to bring up again. Again, your intuition strikes and says, okay, my head's taking me one way, but the hair on my arm standing up is taking me another. I'm going to follow this and just explore it and see where this goes.
Yeah, I call them thrill bumps.
Right.
Thrill bumps. And they've never steered me in the wrong direction.
Yeah, me
And
either.
what happens if I don't pay attention, I go down a deep, dark rabbit hole. So I paid attention. We had conversations with the formulators and the manufacturer, and then months later, my current partners, just absolutely amazing, Mark, came into the picture, and in March of 2001, we launched It Works
On this product.
on this new innovative product that nobody had ever heard of. Yes.
Interesting. And it's just grown and grown and grown over the years from there. And I want to get into that a little bit and find out some of the challenges and how you came up with it, how you overcame them rather. But I want to know, up to this point, were you doing any work on mindset? Were you reading any work on consciousness? Were you doing any thinking about how you expand your reality and grow it?
Oh my gosh. Uh, you know what, Howard, I didn't know books like that existed on consciousness, on, Zig Ziglar back in the day, Jim
Hmm.
Rohn, and uh, my car was an arsenal of cassette tapes. And my daughter would mouth the words. She heard them over and over again, so many times. Books everywhere, because there were so many times during those 6.5 years where I would get stuck. I'd get stuck
Hmm.
at a check. I'd get stuck at a rank. I would get stuck at being not a good leader, not understanding the value of human beings in the business and manipulating them. And, I did everything you could possibly do wrong, but figured it out and got it right. I wasn't afraid to fail. I knew that that led me to a win.
Right.
I,
But
I
you
had
also,
to get over the no's, all the no's and rejection and laughter that people laugh at you in network marketing, Howard. It's a tough business.
no, I know it is. But I love the fact that during those times you sought information in the world on self-development that you knew could help your mind stay away from the negative thoughts, keep it in a fresh, fertile place where you're open to opportunity, open to possibility, because the only thing that can stop someone from getting to where they want to go is if they stop. And those negative thoughts that we have many times can eventually wear us down to where we do stop. And the key is to keep going. We've all seen the cartoon of the guy digging for gold, and he's digging, 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 and he decides to stop, and he's maybe one pitchfork swing away from hitting the gold. I mean, that's the idea with life. It keeps pressing you to move forward and forward towards your dreams, to learn, to grow, to evolve, but to keep going. So it's great that in the early days of those cassette tapes, and there were many different self-development cassette tapes back then, where you grew your mind and expanded what was possible. And I'm sure that helped in starting this company.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be here today. It's still, if you saw my library,
So
you've
yeah,
been to my home, and now I'm like at
I
a
want to
point
talk
where
about that.
yes, and now I feel like I'm in a quiet place where I just go inside and say, okay, how do I, what's going on here? And I just listen to all that knowledge that is stored within me somewhere. And then it'll lead me to a book. Something will come along and I'll devour it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother level of consciousness, of knowledge. And Howard, I see people in business and in life and in relationships that don't do this work,
Right.
and they're not as successful.
Well, or they get stuck and they end up being at a place for a long time, stuck at a certain level, trying to get to the next level, because they just their mind just keeps thinking they have the answer to figure it out. And sometimes, well, every time in my life that I have reached out to help gain more knowledge and insight, to humble myself, it's expanded everything that I do when I've asked for a little bit of help in one area or another. Stop thinking that I have it all figured out. Not that I don't have a lot of it understood, but you can always get help from the world and people in it. And this brings me back, and maybe we should talk about, I did a retreat at your home on my work that you discovered. And I remember Pam has a beautiful home in, is it Sarasota?
Hmm.
The
Yes.
Sarasota, gorgeous home on the bay. And I was walking through a section of your house near the guest room where there's this big wall library of books. And I remember looking at the books and knowing so much of that work that's out in the world on consciousness and spirituality and some of the deep understandings of wisdom and the nature of life. I looked at this library and it was filled. Every book was as good as the next book. And I remember thinking, okay, now I know why I'm here.
Oh, I
now,
love that.
now I
I
know
love
why
it.
I'm here. I mean, so it really showed me what a true explorer of the mind that you are. And this can't just be a passing thing. When you work on self-development, you really have to go deep into your own self and be unafraid to look at some of the beliefs you may never know that you had deep down that have really hindered you in allowing things to come into your life and allowing the proper response, energy, and reactions that keep the ball moving in an expansive way. So it was really interesting when I saw so much of what you had acquired and read in your library. It was very cool.
You know, I coach probably more people in the United States want to know about money than probably any other country, or maybe they're all alike. I don't know. I just work with more people here, but
Mm-hmm.
that money mindset, and there were so many times where I struggled with that of, is that being greedy? Just all these doctrines that I grew up in as a young girl,
Mm-hmm.
going to church, and there's it's money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? All these past ingrained beliefs, Howard, that I didn't even know I had until I explored that. I think so many people struggle with that. I know they do. I coach them. I'd say
Yeah.
90 some percent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. There is a lot of ingrained ideas that we have in our psyche about the nature of money and whether it's evil or bad or going to get you in trouble. And so many people are uncomfortable with it. And my feeling on it is there is no right or wrong or good or bad about it. It all comes down to the intent behind someone who's accumulated it or in the way that they've accumulated it. So if there's malintent in the way they've accumulated it or malintent in the way they've used it, that's the only time the universe sort of brings in a certain karma that will eventually catch up with you, making it, quote, your experience good or bad with it. But outside of that, there is nothing wrong with it. And that's how so many people, not so many people, but that's why a small amount of people have been able to accumulate a large amount of money, because the larger group of people has a certain bias about it. And I'll add one other thing to this, is that it's not just about your thoughts and actions. This can go back generations. This can be embedded in our genetics. And so to work on self-development as it relates to this and open up your mind to receive this without any issue and know that you'll figure out how to handle it, you'll figure out how to be fair with people in your family and be a good steward of it, can be really, really helpful at breaking those chains of the past and allowing things to come into your life. Once you do this, all of a sudden you start to get calls, people start to join up, business opportunities happen, and it starts to flow, almost like a pump that gets primed and there's a drip, 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 and you keep priming the pump and you keep believing in it. And then all of a sudden it's just flowing and you can't stop it. It's coming at you. I talked to somebody the other day who's has a very big and successful business in the cloud computing area. And he just signed a really, really big contract, multi-million dollars. And we were sitting down having an iced tea together. And he said, you know, it just keeps coming in. It just like keeps flowing in. Sometimes I wonder, am I worth it? That this money keeps flowing in, but I've always felt I was. It just keeps growing and growing. And every time it grows, I have to grow with it to receive even more. So it's fascinating how the mind works on that. Really fascinating.
You know, I was at a point 5 years into building this company, and we just weren't going anywhere. It just wasn't growing.
The new company with
The
this
new
new product.
company, it
Right.
works. It just was not growing. It was, I mean, there was even a point where our chief financial officer came and said, we might have to shut down. It's just, we've not had, there's more going out and that's coming in. That was hard on me, Howard. I realized, because I'm building the field, my job was to recruit people into the opportunity and teach and train them. So I knew that I had to change. I knew I did not look at them as the problem. At first I did. Why can't I get somebody like me? I'm looking at everyone's lazy. I mean, I got bitter.
Hmm.
bitter about people, and that's not good.
No.
And so I did a deep work, a very deep work on myself. Went to a warrior camp in upstate New York that was, I did physical and mental things I'd never thought possible. I walked on 35 feet of hot coals. I mean,
Wow.
it was, and I felt like I floated across them. After that, I just knew I could do anything. And then I walked out with this one realization that changed everything for me. And that was, Pam, your job is to get up every day and have a blast. It should be fun. You're too focused on the end when there isn't one. There is never an end.
Boy, isn't
You
that
know,
true?
yes, there's never, you never get it done, and it's never an, it's never an end. So I got up every day, Howard, and I said, I'm going to offer the best possible service. I know means not now. I'm not ready. Okay, they got out of my way. Yes is let's go play, and that's what I did, and everything changed after that. And when I get out of the fun and the struggle starts, when I get start to overthink it, not be humble,
Hmm.
think, oh, I'm all it now. When I become too important is when it starts to fall away. But there was a billionaire in that class, Howard. He was doing big deals in New York in real estate, and he was there because he got scared. And I thought, if he's here
I was
and he
just going to
got
say that.
scared,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
then
great
I'm
point.
okay. I'm going to be
Right.
fine.
So it just shows you yourself being successful already, someone who's a billionaire that's there working on themselves. The work never ends. And then you got back to the idea that it's really about having fun and staying in the process of having fun and doing what you want and being authentic. And it's interesting because I have this conversation a lot with athletes that put so much pressure on themselves to perform and are looking at the outcome rather than staying in the process of what they're doing and keep working on it, keep making adjustments, keep being humble, keep being aware. And then it just comes before they know it. But they can get so wrapped up in what's going to happen that they forget about what they need to do to execute. And so for you to catch yourself, especially at the moment that you were starting to possibly turn bitter and saying they're not doing what they need to make, what I need to have happen, you decided to accept where they were and then work from that point, motivate yourself, change your energy. And because of that, the energy changed around you. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh my gosh, it's like, I don't know what it's like the floodgates opened. It's like the right people came in. They were not fearful, and I realized I was fearful. Is this really going to work? This is a lot of pressure. We've got employees now, and this is, I felt like it was all on me for the field, and it really was when I look back. And and could I do it? Can I lead more people? I had a very unique vision. After that retreat, I was walking on the beach. And every year I go on an annual trip with 10 women that I've known for 40 years. And I got there before them. I had a meeting the night before, and I'm walking by myself on the beach. And I looked out and I had this incredible vision of tens of thousands of people actually in a pyramid structure in the water, Howard. I can't explain this. And I
Okay.
heard, let them in, let them in. And I realized I was holding people back because I was living in the fear of, can I lead them? Are are we a good company? Do we have the right products and the right compensation plan? I was second guessing everything we had done.
Wow.
That was a problem. And
So
so I realized we are great. We have a phenomenal product. We are good people. We're great leaders. Let them in. The floodgates open.
that's really interesting. So what you discovered was that the reason it was not taking off in the way that you wanted was really because inside of you, there was a resistance and a fear projecting about whether or not you could handle that type of expansion. And when all those people come in, whether you had the structure to handle it, it was a responsibility in your mind rather than realizing it's a tremendous opportunity for all those people to come in, learn about business, build their businesses, become successful, stay at home moms, whatever it is that they want to do within the structure of your company. So, again, it's interesting to know that we all want to see the change on the outside, but the change, what's going on the outside, is generally 99.9% of the time a reflection of what's going on somewhere on the inside, whether you've looked at it or not. That is the truth. And once you do see it and you make adjustments on the inside, the outside starts to change. I can't tell you how many young athletes I have worked with that are miserable because they're trying to get perfection in their sport. And I can see what's happening. They won't be happy and calm until they get the experience that they want on the outside. And my work with them is to constantly work on them, to tell them to get to that place where you're happy and calm on the inside, regardless of what the outside is, so that you can perform and execute. And invariably, when they finally get that, they start to execute, and then they end up getting the results that matched where their mindset was. But it's mindset before reality, not reality before mindset. So I love that you explained that, how the company actually expanded. That had to be a big stretch. And one other comment I'll add is, in my experience, every time before there's a big stretch and something changes, I get a little cantankerous. I get a little bit, antsy. Something doesn't feel right. There's a little extra nerves about things. But I've learned over the years that when that happens, all of a sudden, when I realize it, I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. I'm about to stretch. Something good is about to happen. And then I
It's
walk
like
into it.
those pains I had as a child when I grew, those growing pains. And
Mm-hmm.
I would be up all night crying because I grew 6 inches in 8 months when I was 12.
Wow.
You go through a lot of stretching pain. And I always go, oh my gosh, something big is about to happen, because things fall apart, Howard. Friends disappear. People quit your team. Um, eh, you know, uh, you read, somebody sends you something. Somebody just said something negative about you. All these, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we are getting ready to go to a whole nother level here, because this has got to fall away before that newness comes in. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't go looking for it. Believe me, I don't go looking for it, but it comes in. And that's when
Mm-hmm.
you really need to pay attention and really need to be aware that, you know what, you're about to grow 6 inches in 8 months and it's going to be okay.
Right. I think that's a great point, is that something has to fall away first, and that can be a little bit scary and a little bit painful at first, but always something better emerges from it and comes forth from it through the learning of it. And there's a new birth in the world. It's like the baby fighting its way through the birth canal, right? There's a long fight to get here, but then boom, here's life. So really, really interesting. What what do you wish someone would have told you when you were younger that you now know today, that if someone had told you when you were younger, that would have been a light bulb moment for you that you had
I
to learn?
think that you're loved no matter what. That you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. They're not really mistakes. It's a part of life, and that you're going to be okay, and that you're loved no matter what. And to share that, fall in love with life. I don't think we do that enough. Fall in love with every aspect of who you are. Love every part of your body. It's the only one you have. Take care of it.
Hmm.
Love the people around you. And if you don't, and there's a rub there, allow them to go away. It's
Mm.
okay. It's good for you. It's good for them. But that's it. And just fall in love with who you are.
Right, because when you aren't in love with who you are, there's a sense of imperfection, not good enough in there, that creeps into your mind, and then has a profound effect on everything you do. Because what I've learned is we can only receive what we feel ourselves to be worthy of. And we get these images portrayed to us from pop culture, or we get a certain idea of what perfection is from our parents, or what their ideals are, and that we may not be loved if we don't measure up to these. And if we can if those get embedded in our psyche, then it's going to be a long and arduous path to constantly feel that sort of acceptance. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is. And I realize too, a lot of our struggles comes from, comments and people around us, and or things that happen to us. It could be a tire blows out or whatever, during the day, and you've got a big day planned. As how I react to life is so vitally important. And I wish that I had been told that. How you react
There
is
we go.
everything. And so the tire blew out. Okay, the tire blew out. Now
Right.
we've got,
Yeah.
we're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
You can blow up and be a total jerk. And what has that done? That
So,
causes the other tire to blow out or
right.
something else happens. So I'm like, oh, it just happened. I got a nail in my tire, and Dave gets, oh my God, he's all. I said, no, no, no. He said, oh my God, it's going to cost like $4,000 because you got to get. And I said, no, it's not. There's got to be a way. I pull into my favorite gas station and I say, look, I got this nail in my tire. Oh, I can plug it for $20.
Right. Right.
And I'm like,
That's the difference. And
score.
yeah. And not 99.9% of the time, the way you respond and what you perceive, you find what you're looking for in the world. If it's a
Yes, you
$4,000
do.
experience, you're going to get that. I, again, it's probably 99.9% of the time, but again, it's about outlook. And I think what it comes down to when it comes to reactions is trusting life. So if you have a flat tire, who knows? Maybe the person that stops to help you is going to be the person you fall in love with and marry someday. I mean, that
Yes.
opportunity is there. You never know what life's going to bring you when it comes to certain situations that you go through. And some challenges are bigger than others, but if you can get into this mindset that life is always working on my behalf in some way, I think that's what can really shift the mindset. Then when someone makes a comment to you that's negative, if that should happen in business or in life, and you react with emotion, negative emotion, well, maybe that's a signal for you to dig in and find a bigger sense of acceptance for who you are so that you're more impervious to anything from the world. That's true freedom. Not that you don't take in constructive criticism and you don't learn, but anything that's negative, you learn to just have this sort of armor on where they can't affect you because you have already given your own sense of approval. Now, the key to that approval means that you won't prevent anything good from coming into your life. And I know that sounds crazy, but so many people prevent good because on the inside, they don't feel they are worthy enough to receive it. I'm not good enough as her. I'm not, or him. I'm not as talented as that athlete. I'm not as pretty as that person. I can't speak as well. It's amazing to me, that we look at other people like that, we think less of ourselves. So that's a really cool comment that you make about when you were younger. And that's something I try to teach all the people that I work with, is to find that sense of approval and perfection now so that you can begin to receive the goodness of life. Not that you're not open, not that you're not learning, but I love it. I think that's great.
Well, I think and I've gone in and out of that, of course. And when I look at others and judge, it just makes me feel less than.
Mm,
And it takes me down the road that is not a road anyone should go down. And when someone comes to me with a comment or a voice of opinion or really like hurts, Howard, people hurt you. I mean, they do. And I mean, you and I have had conversations about this, people that you respect, care about. But I realize if I stop and go, is that true about me? Or is that something just within them? And I happen to be in that place at that moment
hmm
that they're kind of taking it out on me because, I've raised children. I've been in a really bad frame of mind, and my child will do something and I just lash out. It had nothing to do with that child. And that's a whole, I mean, we could talk for hours on
hmm
mom guilt and all of those things. But I realized maybe this really has nothing to do with me. I'm just standing here. Or there, maybe you had told me at one time, my light's so big sometimes and it's shining so bright, it's hard for people to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to step back and ask, is that true about me? And sometimes, Howard, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the work that and so I look at them like, is this an angel trying to tell me something?
Mm.
And do
Interesting.
I need to do some inner work here?
Yeah. Interesting. Um, I I think we never stop learning about ourselves, but I think one of the most exciting things about life is it doesn't matter who we've been in the past or what we've done. We can't change that. We can't go back, and the self-evident truth, as I say many, many times, is that's the best you had for that moment. But that does not mean that in the next moment that you can't take an opportunity to define who you want to be and begin to change the course of the experience with other people. And that's either the way that you treat other people or how you allow other people to treat you. And sometimes you don't even need to do anything to change how they're treating you. You just need to embody a new sense of who you are. And that energy itself will have them have more trouble in trying to treat you negatively because they feel a different persona about you. They feel a different energy about you. And it becomes much more harder to take you down that negative path. So that's the cool thing in life. It doesn't matter what's happened. We have the ability in this moment to decide who we want to be and to begin to change that and take on a more positive attitude.
I've walked into a store, and we all have done this, or a restaurant, and I can feel the energy's not right. And instead of staying, I leave. I'm just like, I have a choice here. I can stay in this and start to feel bad myself, or I can take myself out. It's
Mm,
the same with uh, arguments, anything like that. No, this is not where I'm going right now. This is not what I
right.
believe. You go figure it out. And when you do that, then let's get back together and we'll have a constructive conversation.
Right. And like I said earlier, you usually find in the world what you're looking for. And if you believe negative stuff about you, you're going to cultivate that energy with someone in your circle, in your reality, in your family that's going to keep that negative cycle going until you get tired enough by it. And then you'll begin to change it. Now, they won't get that right away. They'll still think, oh, I can continue to drag him or her into this drama. But the more you stand in your space and don't put up with it because you're trying to create and receive something different in your life, the more that energy starts to work like seeds in your reality and begin to cultivate something different. And then that changes your mindset, that changes your reactions, it changes the energy of the people you meet, it begins to change the business development and how that's going and the connections. It's incredible. I think we all know somebody in our lives that let's just take the example of a relationship. Somebody's single and you want to introduce them, but if they're not ready yet or they're really have a negative energy, how many of the positive people you know are you going to connect them with? It's just you're just not going to make that effort to do that because you know it's not right and you know it's not going to work. You don't want to ruin your reputation with one or the other person. But the minute they start to change and they demonstrate that they're ready and they demonstrate a different energy, then it's like, oh, I know somebody I could connect them with. I know this person. And your whole mindset about them changed when they don't even know it. They don't even know this is going on. This is outside their reality, but you're so connected to it. Then you're like, oh, let me connect them with them or let me connect them with that. And that could be for relationships or it could be for business.
Yeah, I mean, we try to change things that aren't our responsibility. And so I'm not going to go in and try to, I'm not a psychologist. I don't want to be one. I never wanted to be one. But what I am is an observer, and I observe it. And it's just they're going through something. That doesn't mean I try to bring somebody other than them into their life to help lift them up. I find that that doesn't work. And even in my relationship with Dave, there are times when I have grown and he hasn't. So I stay in that growth, Howard, and he can either come up and join me
Right.
or he's going to feel left out.
Right.
And he's wise enough to realize, oh, she's not coming back down here. She's staying up here.
So
And
I
vice
answered you.
versa. It's
Right.
happened the other way around too. He's taught me a lot as well.
Right. Yeah. And that shows that you're going one direction for more love, more joy, more faith, less drama. And that's the point I was getting at. Until somebody's ready for that, the world around them can't meet them with all these synchronicities. The doors can't open, the business can't expand. Things can't happen until they're willing to find that joy, that peace, that acceptance, and that sense of worthiness on the inside. But once you do, all these unseen lines and connections happen. And it's the same thing in sports too. When they start to feel worthy, the manager starts to think, or the coach, you know what, I'm going to use him today. I'm going to give him an opportunity, because they feel something different in the way he's walking, the way he's preparing, the way she's practiced, that now I'm going to give her her shot. So you never know, but a positive, open-minded attitude and a hard work ethic to prove it is much more conducive than a negative mindset. That's the idea. And to keep searching
It
for that.
is. And, when we started looking at homes down in Sarasota, we're from Virginia. We left a $300,000 house that we had lived in for 19 years. So nothing on the outside looked like it was changing for us, Howard. But on the inside, all the debt was paid, all the plans were made, ready to make a move, a very big move out of a very comfortable, loving environment in Virginia. We grew up there, born and raised. All of our friends and families were around us. So it was, again, a big stretch. So we come down and we're looking at homes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need another million to get on the water and to have the house that I want. The cost of living and the cost of homes here are quite different than my
Right.
hometown.
Yeah.
So instead of getting frustrated or upset about it, I said, we got another year here. I'm just going to go home and sell more wraps. I'm just going to build a bigger business. And this home that we looked at, I really fell in love with. And he said, all right, we're in the neighborhood. Let's go to this. It's outside of what you're budgeting for, which was that extra million. So Howard, I went home. I put that dream out there, and I went home and I went to work. Now, I never felt stressed about this. I didn't talk about it. I went to work, and that next year we came back down. That house was still available. It was still on the market, and we purchased that home.
Wow.
And you can do this, but you don't do it from fear or even strategy, Howard. It is fall in love with what you do every single day. Just go after it. And I went after it even bigger. I said, man, I'm going to offer this opportunity to even more people. More
Right.
people are going to have the opportunity to work with me, to fall in love with this company, to change their lives as well. And whoever wants to unwrap this gift, here it is.
Right.
And my whole perspective changed. So now after that, I feel like, whoa, I could, what else? What else do you want
Right.
here?
Well, that's what's so cool, is once you realize how to open Pandora's box on all these things that you
Yeah.
can create. I mean,
And it's a
coming out,
fun box.
it is when you open it up, and be prepared to go to work, because it's going to
Oh, yeah.
require, every mountain that you climb requires a certain preparation to do it. And you got to be aware of it, and you got to be ready to tackle the challenges. But once you know you can get there, if you just keep going, then you're on your way. So
But it's not I really want to get this point across, Howard, and help me explain this because you're so good at this. It's not a hard, crunching, grinding, gritty work. That's not what we're talking about. It has got to be in the flow, in the love and the joy of it, and expression. But
right.
it is work, but it's not, oh my, it's not like you're stressed out, you're burnt out I
Right.
felt overjoyed at the end of this.
Well, that's the perfect energy to have. I guess what I mean is, you can't just have this mindset like, oh, I know I'm going to get there, and then not do any of the action
Oh
steps,
no,
take
that's
any of
what
the
people
actions. And
do. That's the old fallacy of the law of attraction.
right.
Oh,
Exactly.
sit there in the yoga position, dream about it, and then a year later, they don't have the house, Howard. They
Right.
don't have it. They didn't take action. So what follows, Howard? To me, it's like action gets you in the mojo. Not the people always say, how do you motivate me? Yeah, can you motivate me? How do I motivate my team? How do I inspire them?
Yeah. And the best way to inspire them is to have them realize that every action, positive or negative, is going to lead them to what they want. See, what's not inspiring them is the idea that the no is going to identify them, and then they're going to feel worse than they did before they asked. But if they know that the no is actually moving them towards what they want because they had the experience of going through it, they dealt with it, they realized it didn't affect them, and they kept going, that's the mojo right there.
Yeah.
So actually the negative response can be a lot of mojo when you look at it like, okay, I see how this works right now. I go through this, I get up to bat, I don't execute, but I know I learned something. And I know the next time I get an opportunity, I'm going to come back again, even stronger and with more knowledge. Okay, now I got a piece of a baseball, but I hit it foul and the guy caught it down the foul line. Okay, but at least I got a piece of it. I'm going to keep swinging and eventually you get that hit. And I've seen that so much in sports. So it's the same thing in business, which is you have to just keep going. And that's where the mojo comes from. But I think that in order to do that, again, if you're working against yourself from the inside, it's not going to work. For example, if you haven't rooted out a sense of unworthiness on a deep level, no matter what you do, you're going to find that experience. When you
You,
realize the sense of worthiness, then you'll build the mojo.
yes. All right. So you start out, you're going to be scared, especially in my business, because most people have never done business before. They've worked a job. They're used to going in and getting a paycheck. They're told what to do from the moment they enter the building. They, get there at 8 o'clock. They know when they can go to the bathroom, when they can go to lunch, when they get off. And with being an entrepreneur for the first time, I'm like, where do I even start? Where do I even start? And so I see people ask 3 or 4 people. It'd be like your ball player, Howard, getting up and getting 3 strikes and saying, I'm walking off the field, man. This isn't working.
Right.
You
Right.
don't, you don't get 3 no's and quit. You get
Right.
thousands of them.
Yeah.
And by the time you get thousands of them, you've won.
Because what's really happening is life is vetting you out. Life is trying to see whether or not you're worth it for this level. Okay, you made it to this level, but do you have what it takes to get to this level? And at each level, you have to have the constitution in your psyche, in your mind, in your heart that allows you to receive that, to maintain it, and then enough energy to go to the next level. So each level is a vetting process in life. So when your business started to take off, were you uncomfortable with it when it started to go to millions of dollars and thousands of people? Or did you embrace it and accept it? Or did you have any challenges?
Well, we always had challenges, but you know what I realized? If I just get up every day and have, it's like if I asked for a better website, it's somehow they knew we needed a better website, and here they went to work on it. If I stayed in my lane and did the best job possible for what that was, which is bringing in new business, then the inside of the operation, which was shipping, customer service, IT, all of that came along with it. It wasn't always perfect and never has been, but it would show up to support.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yes, so it did. It's like I look at our company now. I mean, we've got global offices.
Mm-hmm.
We have people all over the world in 22 plus countries growing. And I could have never envisioned that. But what I did envision was I'm going to get up and enjoy this day. I'm going to do the best I can this day. And I look at where we're living every day with gratitude.
Mm.
I walk out of my bedroom just thanking God daily for who we are and where we are and all the blessings that we have. I never take it for granted. And I grow every day. I evolve. I want to be the best version that I can be. And I don't get tired.
Well, that's cool. You have humility, you've got gratitude, and you have an incredible work ethic that keeps you going. What would you say is the main difference between someone who's successful in your business and someone who isn't?
Oh my gosh, I just see it every day. Howard, They want the fruits without the labor. You know, they they want it. They want the end before the beginning. And in anything in life, it's a step process. Let's grow into this, and then they get to a good position, making excellent income at a great position, and they implode. It's almost like they won the lottery, and they don't have the mindset. I'd rather it take somebody longer, and what seems like time, longer in time, to reach a leadership position, because they've gone through a lot of those growing pains. They've evolved through it. Where I've seen people that get there very, very quickly, and their ego gets inflated. The leadership skills are not there. They're not grateful. They become, look at me. And uh, it's unfortunate, Howard, because they've got a tremendous business, and they're not willing to grow into what they've made.
So it's not only the self-development to continue to grow, to continue to expand, but it's also minding the store and the work
Yes.
ethic every day that has to go into it. It's not like you just get there and you get to relax.
Mm-mm.
You have to keep going. You have to keep the machine moving. If you want to be successful at a really high level as an entrepreneur in a distributorship business in network marketing.
I think in life, because
Mm-hmm.
you're the energy center of your business. You are in yours. If you're not writing a book, Howard, if you're not on a podcast, if you're not coaching and teaching and evolving, where is your business? It's going to go down, because
Yeah.
you're not actively in there. So there's a fallacy in our industry. Beach money, you know, get in, build this residual income, and just go hang out on the beach. Nothing in life is like that. I feel like God is still working as well. He's still working on us
Yeah.
all the
Well,
time.
well,
Yes.
I say that the universe never stops creating and expanding.
No.
Divinity never stops. It continues to unfold and expand. And so in order for you to stay lock in step with life and stay on what I'll call the edge of life, which is where all creation happens, you have to motivate yourself all the time. That doesn't mean you can't take breaks and you can't relax and you can't enjoy your hard work at times. But if you want to keep moving, growing, and expanding, then every day you've got to do something every single day. I had a great athlete on the podcast the other day, and he was telling me about his success in Major League Baseball. And he said one of the key things that he found that made him a success at a high level is that he realized that if he did one thing every single day, that if he could just set his goal to at least accomplish one thing, whether it was in the stat box or not, if he didn't have a great day at the plate, if maybe he hit a ground ball that moved a runner that was on first to second, so the runner got in scoring position for the next guy, then he did something good that he could feel good about himself and motivate him to the next day. And then the next day, maybe he got 3 hits and drove in 2 runs. But he just wanted to contribute something every day that felt he was moving towards being the great athlete that he knew he was. And I think that's a
Well,
testament to your
it's
point.
us. It's like uh, asking someone to join your team, and they say no. So I would do this. Can you tell me if there's anything that I could have done differently? Could you tell me, give me some reasons as to why you said no? I was willing to have that deep reflection come back. And I realized if I did that, I got to the core of why they really said no, because I have found in life the first 2 or 3 are not the truth. The first 2 or 3, no, I don't want to do it for this or that. It's not the truth. The core truth is always fear.
Mhm.
Fear of the unknown. Fear, can I do it? Is it possible? Because I know if I'm talking to them, Howard, there's interest. They're
Mhm.
trying to figure it out. Because in the beginning of my career, I said no for months. No, I'm not ready. And all of them were basic little white lies.
Mhm.
No, I don't have the time. No, we don't have the money to join right now. When we get the money for anything we want,
Correct.
truly want,
Yeah.
it comes. It's like there's a void here. Let's fill it. Where you're
Mhm.
going to find the money. So none of that was really true. So I would dig a little deeper, ask a few more questions, and become very interested in that person. And sometimes it was still no, but I learned a lot through the process. So I was willing to stretch myself, ask deeper questions, and then allow those answers to come in without, oh, well, you're just really bad at presenting. I was really bad at presenting in the beginning because I presented from my perspective and I didn't try to
Mm.
figure out what they wanted.
So that's what I was just thinking about as you were talking about asking questions. So to me, that is a huge part of why humility is so powerful, because it allows you to receive wisdom. You being able to ask them, hey, what worked and what didn't work as to what I said? Or how do I reach this person? Or what perspective are they thinking from? This has implications. I mean, this is relationship 101 stuff, because everybody looks out their eyes as their windows to the world with a different perception, with different values, with different fears. And so for you to get more empathetic about where they're coming from allows you to connect with them, allows you to work with them, and it allows you to help them in a way that you never could have before, because they weren't letting you in because you weren't speaking their language, or they didn't feel you were connected. Once you do that, you are so much more powerful. So to me, this is what true mindfulness is
Mm-hmm.
being mindful about how you're connecting with someone, not just from your perspective, but what is it that they're thinking? How can I help them move to the next level that I know they want to move to, or else they wouldn't be in this conversation right now? So I just got to find a way to connect with them to help get them there. And that's what a great coach does to motivate. I've seen some
Yeah.
great coaches and I've seen some really bad ones. And the bad ones, or the ones that aren't effective, I should say, are the ones that are only thinking from their mindset.
And
And
from there, what they want. I
yeah,
just want you
that's
to
a right,
move.
right.
And you can, oh my God, it's the worst feeling for the person on the other end.
Exactly. It is, because they want to be in harmony. They don't mind doing what you want as long as you understand what they want, and what they want is somewhere in the picture of this. How's
Yeah.
this going to help me? I'll help you, but how's this going to help us? I guess is the
Mm-hmm.
best way to say that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a really profound statement about being successful in life, is really understand how you're connecting to someone else. So you build this great business, you get it global, and it's doing really well. What's next for Pam Sowder? What is it that you are looking to do with yourself
Oh
now
my
that you've achieved
gosh, what a
all
big
this?
question. I care so much about our company and the people that are with us, and just to help them catch a bigger vision for themselves is always, just my love of what I do is someone coming to me and getting that aha moment and going, oh, wow. Howard, you showed me something years ago that is ask the right questions so that they can reach the conclusion on their own. And it's much more profound and it stays with you more. So I like them going, oh, got it.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm off. I'm
Right.
good.
Have them
And
reflect. Yeah.
it's powerful when you can do that, especially even with children, getting them to see why they did the things that they did. They probably
Hmm.
won't do them again.
Right.
And so for
Versus being
me,
told.
yeah,
Yeah.
personally,
Right.
hey, you were wrong. You didn't do that. You don't have what it takes. No, everyone can do this. We've proven that. We've got all walks of life in our organization. There are no restrictions. There's no boundaries. It's overcoming whatever those thoughts are that you have going on and realizing that most of them are not true and
So,
moving on from there. And so I want more aha moments. I want people to realize that they can do this, that they are aware that they're worthy. I think that's a big thing,
mhm.
worthiness. Um, I've written a book, Howard. It's coming out soon,
Oh,
and that
nice.
was a big accomplishment for me. And
Congratulations. That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Good for you. See, you never stop.
Yes. Oh no. I mean, no. Launching the podcast. I'm almost at my 100th. This will go. This July will be my 100th episode. 100 episodes. Who would have thought that? I mean, you just have one, and then you have the second one, and then you have the third one, but you don't quit. Most
That's
people
right.
have 3 or 4 podcasts. No one's listening. No one listened to mine. Now they're listening,
Give
and
the
they're
name.
coming.
Give the name of your
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
What's the no? Give the name. What's the name of your podcast?
Oh, it's you can find them all at my website, pamsowder.com. You can find
Okay,
them all there. They're on Spotify and Apple as well. So they can
perfect.
find everything they want to find out about me there. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm a lot of fun there. I give a lot of information there, Facebook as well.
I was going to ask you as a last question, what's the best advice you'd give someone in business, sports, relationships that wants to succeed in the world, but you've answered it in so many ways about believing in yourself and just knowing you're worthy versus that voice in your head that always tries to tell you the lie. And is there anything you'd add to that, or is that pretty
I,
much the
I,
sum
I
of it?
would, I have a chapter in my book called The Inner Bully, and I just feel like that's what it is to me. It's just
Mm-hmm.
a self-limiting, loud voice that is so not true that now I can go sit in the corner. I hear you. I'm going to go do this. We're going to live through it.
Right.
And sometimes it's telling me that I'm on the right path, because when it argues the most, it means, wow, we're getting ready to do something big here. This is going to be so big.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I do go, wow, okay, so that I'm so living in this state of fear right now that there's got to be something on the other side of this that's huge,
Right.
huge. And
Exactly.
so I just go through it like, okay, let's go do this thing. And I mean, my heart's racing, palms are sweaty. But on the other side of that, you're just smiling. You're like, wow, girl, you did
That's
this thing. It's so
exactly
big. Now what?
right.
Now what do we get? And it's not that I'm not satisfied. That's not it. It's like we're here to create. We are here to create. And when we're not, and I've seen it in my family, they hit the word retire, they're dead in 6 months,
Mm.
whether they're physically dead or mentally dead. There's no life there. I don't want that for myself or my family. I want us to always be evolving and growing and living life. And bottom line is, Howard, I just want to have more fun than it's possible. I just want to have so much fun just talking to people like you that inspire me and are giving back to the world. This world is in a dark place right now, and more people like us that can help shine a light on the value of ourselves and each other. We are
hmm
creating something tremendous here, and I want us to all keep growing.
Well, that is awesome and amazing. Pam, congrats on everything that you've done and all the people that you've motivated over the years doing what you do. You're a shining example of belief in action, and your energy just radiates it. So there's no it's no surprise of what based on what you've created for your life so far. It's no surprise at all based on your energy, your actions, and your entire spirit. So thanks for being on and sharing here today with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Howard. And, I'm so thankful for this podcast. All right, everyone, you got to keep tuning into Howard. You're going to grow so much. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, Pam. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.
All right, let's take a picture.